Hey, turn to page 26. Page 26. Okay. So we got two things in common here with perimeter and area. With a perimeter, which we looked at last class, you have to have the same units. Write that down. Page 26. Page 26 at the top. Write down perimeter, same units. Okay. Perimeter, same units. Write that down. Okay. So area, before you start doing calculations, you have to be in the same units as well. That's the only similarity between these two. That's it. Okay, nothing else. So what you have to do then is you have to understand what perimeter means in order to calculate it. Sometimes it's special formulas, like circles, but most of the time you're just doing what? Adding what? You're mostly just adding all the sides. Okay, write that down, perimeter, adding all the sides. Okay, so perimeter, add all the sides. And today you're going to see you don't need any measurements through the middle. You don't need any measurements through the middle. And that's because it's not part of the perimeter. The perimeter is the distance around the outside. The outside. Our special formulas that we looked at yesterday was circumference equals 2 times pi times r. Okay. Often it's not written as 2 times pi times r. It's written as what? 2 pi r. Okay, letters beside letters mean multiplication. The coefficient in front means multiplication. So 2 pi r means 2 times pi times r. Okay. Or the other formula was, what was the other formula for a circle? Not using r, but using d. Okay. Pi times diameter. Okay. So pi times diameter is the other formula for the circumference of a circle. Circumference just meaning fancy word for perimeter of a circle. Okay. And as we just talked about here, okay, area is the same units. Okay. Area is the same units. So if we have a square, we're trying to find the square units. Okay. So our units for area are centimeters squared, inches squared, and meters squared. Okay. What we're looking to figure out is how many little squares fit inside a shape. So if we have a square that's 4 by 4, we're looking how many 1 centimeter squares, if this is 4 centimeters and 4 centimeters, how many 1 centimeter squares are fitting inside this object? That's essentially what you're asking. Okay. So we start by writing down area equals side times side. Copy this down. This is an example. Copy it down in the margin. Here we go. Okay. Area equals side times side. What's the short form for that? Area equals side squared. Okay. Area equals side squared. And side squared is what we call our formula. Okay. Let me make that a little bit more legible. Formula, F-O-R-M-U-L-A. And our formula starts with a capital A. Capital A equals side squared. So then after we write our formula, you want to substitute in. So we substitute in the number. Okay, and I'll clean this word up. This means substitute. S-U-B-S-T-I-T-U-T-E. Substitute. And we keep A the same, but A equals 4 times 4, or you can go 4 squared. Whichever one you like, you use. Okay. So you can substitute in 4 squared or 4 times 4, knowing that squared means a number times itself. Okay. What's the last part of our work that we have to show? Formula, substitute. Oh, come on. You guys had Math 9 teachers here. Solve. You're right. Good job. Okay. The last part we solve. Now, if I don't have measurements, you have to write units squared. So 4 times 4 is 16. We got 16 units squared. But Mr. Barker wrote down centimeters, so then you should have centimeters squared. Okay, so we can change this one here to centimeters squared. If I don't have anything, then you can write down units squared. Or I've even seen this, U squared, like a capital U. Olivia, do you have U squared written down? You should. I know because you're talking. Nevea, ditto. Ditto means same thing. Okay. Now, when you solve, you have to be careful because you got to do bed mass. So it's at this stage of the game where you have to do a little bit of bed mass. So you have to follow the order of operations: brackets, exponents, division, multiply, add, subtract. So basically multiply and divide, then add or subtract. Okay. A lot of our simple formulas that we're going to look at today, you don't have to worry about it at all. It can be done in any order because it's all multiply or division. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? So their example, they used a rectangle. Okay. Area equals length times width or base times height. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Okay. What do we start by writing down? You're right, the formula. So here on their work, write down formula. So the formula is A equals L times W. That's what they chose to use. Then they substituted in the number 15 times 6. So 15 would be the length. And 6 would be the width. But because it's a multiplication, does it really matter which is which? Or can you switch them? Is 15 times 6 different than 6 times 15? No. So it doesn't matter which one's which. Okay. And the very last step, they solve it and get their answer. How many lines of work is that? FSS. How many lines of work am I expecting? 3. 3 lines of work. And you already went over the last class. They didn't do it. So they're not going to receive full marks on their booklet. Okay. I'm expecting perfection. Now, some people are like, Mr. Barker, I really want to go base times height instead. No problem. Actually, in fact, that's what I do. So what you can do then is you can do it over here. Write down your formula. Okay. Base times height. Use that formula. 6 times 15 or vice versa. Right. These can be written in any order. So I substitute in. And what's our last step? Solve. So our last step, you solve. Formula, substitute, solve. Okay. Whichever one you like is fine. There's no difference. How many people want to use base times height? Hands up. How many people want to use length times width? Hands up. Ooh, a lot of people don't want to do anything. Shame, shame. Okay. Any questions with the rectangle? So instead of width and height, you could also use the words base. So length and width, base and height. Okay. And they can interchange. You guys good? Next one, the square. So the square is, we already looked at this, side times side, or side squared, whichever one you like. I don't like using the letter S because it looks like the number 5. That's the only reason why I avoid it. Okay. What I like to use is B for base. Although sometimes if you write horribly, it looks like a 6. So I write down sometimes base times base, and that's what's highlighted in the blue. Okay. So then I substitute in the number in this question, or you can write down b squared, or base times base. This measurement is 7, so it's 7 squared. That's my substitution. And then I solve 7 times 7 is 49 centimeters squared. FSS. Now I've said this about 6 times now. Do you think it's a big deal? Absolutely. Do you think it's going to go well for your marks if you don't write it down? No. Right? We're working on communication, mathematical communication skills. Being able to write mathematically is a skill that improves your brain power. So that's why we want you to do it. Not just to torture you, but improves your thinking skills. It's like learning another language. And that's important. Okay. You guys all good at square? Next shape. I bet you it's going to be half a square. What's half a square called? Or half a rectangle. What's half a rectangle called? You're right. It's a triangle. Right? Half a rectangle is a triangle. All triangles are rectangles divided into 2. Do you guys realize that? Okay. Good. You got some good math teachers then. So I do not like their formulas. Right? This 1/2 base times height. I didn't see this formula until university. And it took me 2 math classes to redo that, to figure out what they meant. I don't like it like this either, because I find it really complicated. You guys don't really understand it. I think this is a better example of how to use the formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Please write that one down. Okay, that's how I'm going to demonstrate, is that last one that I wrote, base times height divided by 2. Okay. So looking at our triangle then, we have 9 and 6. Okay, so a couple things to note here. Number 1, super duper important is this part right here. Write this down first. Base and height join at 90 degrees. That's the only thing you can really screw up. And you'll see I highlighted it right here in blue. Right above the 6 on that dashed line, you have 90-degree symbol. It's a little square. Okay, so that little square means 90 degrees. That means one of them must be the base and one of them must be the height. So this typically would be the base down below. Okay. So this would be the base, and this would be the height. Does 12 have anything to do with the base or the height? No, not at all. You'd only use 12 if you had to deal with the perimeter. Okay, only if the perimeter. So for us, formula substitute solve. There's our formula. Base times height divided by 2. We substitute in. We get 6 times 9 divided by 2. That's our substitution. And what's the last part? Solve. So we can get 6 times 9 is 54. Divided by 2 is 27. However, you can do the division early. I can divide 6 by 2, and I get 3 times 9, which I can do in my head. So if there's ever an even number, I like to divide that first so I don't have to use a calculator. But if you did have to use a calculator, 6 times 9 divided by 2, press equals, 27 is your answer. Okay. Any questions about the triangle? Watch out for measurements like 12, which don't matter. Okay, watch out for questions like 12 that don't matter. So this triangle here, we have centimeters times centimeters, which will give us our centimeters squared. That's how we're getting the area, as we're multiplying centimeters by centimeters. Okay. Which one's the base, 5 or 4? It doesn't matter. If you turn the screen sideways, then you'd say 5. Doesn't matter. As long as they do what? As long as they join at 90 degrees. That's all you're looking for. Okay, you're just looking for it to join at 90 degrees. So you substitute in. Formula, substitute. What's the last part? Solve. Okay. So what'd you get? Navia? Sorry? Oh, just type into your calculator. Use your phone. You want to practice it. Watching me do math doesn't help you learn. Doing the math while we're doing it together helps you learn. 10. All right, good job. Okay, so 10 centimeters squared. Everyone try that on a calculator, make sure you can get it. Don't just watch me do it. Not helpful. Now the next question. Okay, the next question we have dashed lines. Okay, those dashed lines are imaginary. So there we have imaginary lines. We have to have those to show you what's the base and the height. The imaginary lines here help us see the height is 5, and that's why they needed to use them. Okay. So when you solve this, what's the first thing you write down? Formula, and what is it? Base times height divided by 2. Good, do it. Write that down. 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 Area equals base times height divided by 2. What's the next thing? Nevaeh? Substitute. Good job. So what do we substitute in? The 9 and the 5. So A equals what? Good job. Awesome, Nevaeh. Well done. Okay, so we're at this stage right now. Area equals 9 times 5, or 5 times 9. Doesn't matter. Right? We'll still divide by 2. Do that on your calculator. Show me what you get. 22.5? Good. But is that dogs, pigs, goats, or donkeys? Which one? Inches squared. Well done, Olivia. Okay, so 22.5 inches squared. Now, technically, when you read this, you're supposed to read it as square inches. But does it really matter? Not really. Tomato, tomato. Okay, but if you ever go to trade school and they say, that's not square inches squared, it's square inches. Blame me. I'll take the blame for that. Okay? You can relearn it in trade school and speak their language there. All right? Questions, comments, or concerns? Same thing like feet squared. You're not supposed to say feet squared. You're supposed to say square feet. Same thing with yards squared. You're supposed to say square yards. Okay? But don't worry about that for here. Either one is fine. All right. So key points, write it once again. You must have the same units. Okay. We won't see that with 7A, assignment 7A, but you'll absolutely see that with assignment 7. Okay. You have to convert first. So make sure you guys bring your Chromebooks for tomorrow. To have your Chromebooks, it's going to make it easy to do your conversions. Okay. Any questions about the conversions? Type into Google. That's what we've been doing. Google will help you. Okay. So going on then. Now we have the circle. Okay. For your circle, A equals pi times r squared. And what does r squared mean? It means r times r. So you should highlight this, please. Write down r squared equals r times r. Okay. Now, the other part that you have to remember from yesterday is the diameter part. So diameter equals what? What's the relationship with the radius? 2 times r. Okay, so diameter equals 2 times r, not r squared. And the radius equals diameter divided by 2. Okay. So the first thing you do is write down your formula. What do you write down? Formula. Okay, pi r squared. Then you substitute in. Now, when you substitute in, you have a choice. You can write down 6 squared. If you know what that means, I think that's higher power math. If you don't know what it means, or if you like it the other way, write down 6 times 6. Doesn't matter which one you want. Okay, you choose. But the last step, you have to solve. So to solve it and get the correct answer, okay, you'll see on the calculator they rounded. So I'm going to go pi times 6 times 6, 113.09. Or I can go pi times 6 squared equals 113.09. Or I can go 6 times 6 times pi equals same answer. or 36 times pi equals the same answer. Okay, so multiplications, you can do it in any order. I have a question for you though. How come, how did I know that 6 is the radius? Two ways. Tyson? Exactly. First it says, great job. What's the other reason? What does Dad have? The diagram is showing it's the radius, right? The diagram is showing half a line. That's how so it's two ways. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. This one is straightforward, except the first thing you have to do is find the radius. So diameter divided by 2, 18 divided by 2, radius is 9 inches. And we know that not because d equals, but also because line goes all the way across. So the diagram can help you, okay? So there's two ways to tell you, hey, that's the diameter. And you can see here, 9 times 9. Try it on your calculator real quick. Make sure you got this, please. Try this on your calculator. Pi times 9 times 9. Try it on your calculator. Try it on your calculator. Try it on your calculator. There we go. I'll even try it too, just in case. Pi times 9 times 9 equals 254.47. Good. All right. Any questions at all? All right. Good. So your assignment here is just 7A. Okay. So number one, I just want 7A perimeter, area and perimeter. Everyone in the last block got it done. Just work through it, ask questions. I know some people are still doing literacy, so I don't want to go too far ahead. Questions, comments, or concern? It's only assignment 7A for right now. Begin, good luck, enjoy, check your answers. Have fun.